what is it that you engage in as Seva? Because you spoke about why Seva, what it brings to you. So if you could share what is it that you do, that would be a lot of interest to our people.
Sure. But before I do, and I'm very happy and feel very blessed to share the incredible amount of Seva that flows really from Puja Swamiji's grace and his blessings. But before I do that, I want to just respond to the way, Ektaji, that you asked that about, what is it that I do? Because when I first came to India 25 years ago and started living in Rishikesh at Parmarth Niketan, there was no role for me. There was no niche. There was no job description. There was no place that I just was able to walk in and have someone say, oh, okay, so this is going to be your Seva. And it varied in the most extraordinary and exquisite way, both day to day as well as year to year. And so I could literally, let's take today, I could literally do anything during the course of a day, ranging from giving a spiritual discourse to a very, very, very large, packed audience of people, to leading a more cozy satsang in the garden, to teaching meditation, to writing, to traveling, whether it's at the United Nations, whether it's with the World Bank, whatever it may be, to putting a Band-Aid on a wound, to working on some kind of a report or document or paperwork that the government requires of NGOs or that some partner is requiring of us, to helping get somebody registered for a free medical camp that we are running, to offering someone a cup of tea or helping them get a room. And for me, it's so beautiful because the ego just loves to make you stuck. And it just loves to have something that it grabs onto. And to say, oh, I give these big lectures, that means I'm a spiritual teacher. Or I give the satsang or teach the meditation, that means I am this spiritual leader, this spiritual teacher. Oh, I put a Band-Aid on wounds, I must be a nurse. Oh, I help fill out these forms, I must be some really low-level clerk. I must be doing, what trained monkeys can do. Oh, I, might help somebody get a cup of tea or help them get a room. I must be, just like a concierge. And the ego just loves to get you stuck and to either make you feel really big and important and powerful, or to make you feel really small and worthless and like, what am I doing? And for me, what's so blessed and so exquisite about the way that my days go is that the ego doesn't really have a chance to get its hold on something. Because the flow is so continuous, the ego doesn't have the opportunity to get stuck. And I'm so deeply grateful for that. And it was even more so in the beginning. Now there's so many more people doing so many different things that there's somewhat of a less variety, in the day, which is which is beautiful on many, many levels. I get to do more of the speaking, more of the teaching, more of the writing. And yet, there's something so precious and priceless and irreplaceable about those other moments, because they remind us it isn't about what we do. It is about how we do it, and it is about being a tool in God's hands. And just as in the body, nobody would say that what the ear does is somehow inherently more valuable or less valuable than what the stomach does, or the liver does, or the hands do. We need all of the parts. Nothing is bigger or smaller, more important, less important. Everything is critical. And so the way that we serve is rooted in what is needed in this moment. What is it that the person or the people or the situation in front of me require? Not what do I do, but what does the moment require? And if what the moment requires is a hot meal rather than a spiritual discourse, well then my Dharma is to provide a hot meal, not to say, oh, well, you know, I give spiritual discourses, so I'm just going to give you one while you sit here and suffer from hunger. No, our Dharma as people in service is to respond to whatever the moment requires. And before I get into some specifics, I wanted to share, as you asked this, the moment for me that I really consciously noticed this. It always, of course, had been part of my life since I came, but I had the actual epiphany of this. Standing in the airport of Seoul, South Korea, many years ago, I was leaving from this very large, interreligious, massive event in which we had literally been in an Olympic stadium, and it had been just huge and glamorous and prestigious and all of those things. And I was flying from Seoul to New York, where I was going to be doing a big event at the United Nations. And on the way in New Jersey, I was going to be doing a satsang in the local temple there. And I was pushing my little cart with my handbag through the Seoul airport. And I can still picture where I was standing with this little gift shop on my right-hand side. And I was laughing to myself. And I was saying to myself, who are you? Like, how did this happen? And what do you do? And it just was so amazing to me to be moving from one place to another. And I was so grateful, so touched, but also the whole thing just seemed so funny to me. That who was I, and what did I do, and what role did I have in any of these things that were just happening around me? And as I pushed my little cart through the airport, suddenly I had this moment where I realized I share love and peace. That is what I do. And wherever it is, whatever it is, because, of course, on the plane, I had forgotten to mention this core point. On the plane, I had all of this work that I had to do for a variety of different projects and programs that were going on at the time. And I remembered I had been thinking about how I wasn't going to be able to sleep on the plane because I had all of this work to do. So I finally realized, standing there, I share love and peace. That is what I do. And whether it is on a stage in a massive event, whether it's in a meeting, whether it is in a satsang, whether it is bringing schools and education and empowerment and upliftment to children and girls and women, whether it's bringing medical care, whether it's water, whatever it may be, that with the grace of God and Puja Swamiji's blessings, we are blessed to be tools for. It is all about love and peace. And in that moment, I realized there is no need to ever ask yourself what your role is, what you do. Just remember, your job description is to spread love and peace. That is it. And whatever situation the universe puts in front of you, whatever tools of sharing and spreading that may be needed in that moment, may be appropriate in that moment. Because a hot meal is love. Being treated in a medical care camp is love. A hug is love. And so there's no definition around that. It just is about, in every minute, in every moment, recognize that your job description is spread love and peace. So since that moment, it's been very clear for me and very, very simple. Not easy, of course, but very simple. With that clarity of knowing, oh yeah, this is what I do. So with regard to the specific work, I have always said that Puja Swamiji, his mantra is yes. You know, in most NGOs or in most humanitarian organizations, there's some level of like, you have a meeting and you sit down and you say, okay, here's our budget. What can we do with that budget? Here's a 5-year plan. Here's a 10-year plan. Here's phase 1. Here's phase 2. And his way of moving through the world is just yes. And it's yes to the entirety at once, with the awareness that the universe is going to send whatever is needed to make that happen. And that if something has landed in our lap, the divine has sent it. So with that, we are engaged in a whole variety of work. We are anchored in water, sanitation, hygiene, education, girls, women, empowerment, healthcare. So whether it is actually schools, vocational training programs, whether it is education within schools about water, about menstrual hygiene, about life skills, about girl power, whether it is technologies to clean our water, to filter our water so that sewage is not falling into Ganga, whether it is massive advocacy work to really change how people think about open defecation, about use of toilets, about menstrual hygiene, about menstruation, about early child marriage, about girls, about women, about climate change. Whether it's providing free healthcare on site, in villages, we are really just very, very blessed to respond to whatever is needed. Disasters happen and we are blessed to be there. In some cases, physically there, like in the tsunami, for example, actually being there, or whether being there through sharing of resources, through sending resources and assisting in that way. Whatever the opportunity that presents itself at that moment, we are ready to be there, to serve, eager, and always in the moment. I remember when the flood happened in Uttarakhand in 2013, just immediately, it was about, okay, open our ashram, open the doors, open the yoga halls. Anybody needs a place to stay. Anybody needs hot food. Because at that time, of course, everybody was going for Charidham Yatra. So everybody was stuck. People were stranded. And it was just in the moment, even before knowing the depth of the tragedy that has happened, even before working out any kind of a plan, it's just yes. And that's really a very beautiful and very inspiring mantra and way for all of us to live. And I think the last piece that I would mention about this is that the Seva for us is an integral part of sadhana. It's not sadhana and Seva. It's Seva and sadhana as being interwoven together with the awareness that if our sadhana is real and is deep and is full, the most natural outcome of that, as we stand up off our cushions, is to serve. Because that experience of oneness with all of creation, because that experience of connection with the divine, with the universe, is so strong that we open our eyes and we serve that world as self.
Yes, I think you have mentioned not only the fact what you do, but also how you do it, which is something that I believe makes, I mean, I can very well imagine your visiting card saying Sadhvi Bhagavati Saraswatiji, creator of peace and love.
It doesn't actually say that. That's the one I keep in my mind.
And I think, yes, because
to pass that around on a visiting card.
It would be so nice if actually we did that kind of a thing, right? Because people would feel happier for it instead of seeing directors and CEOs. Because
you're right. we will change those. I know Ganga Nandini ji is with us as well, and I'll
something for all of us. And the other thing that you
have that.
The other thing that you reminded me of a lot was one of my favorite prayers, and from Francis of Assisi, where Francis's prayer is so dear to my heart. And, as somebody who has also lived a lot of interfaith meetings over 10 years when I was in France, I can totally relate to how you speak about being an instrument of peace, an instrument of sharing, an instrument of caring for people, in the way you speak about action and karma. And I know that Pujya Swamiji, Chidanand Saraswatiji, is all about work, is all about karma. He gave a wonderful talk recently on karma yoga for the earth, which has pleased our readers a lot, our viewers a lot. It's really interesting how you blend both without allowing the ego to come in between, because neither as a tyrant nor as a victim does one need to walk on the path of Dharma. And beautifully you have put it,